Hello, everybody. We are back. It is me, Stu, otherwise known as Henry Weston. This is Henry Weston's Old Mate, the podcast. We're talking Manchester United again. Before I introduce you to two of our regular guests, I'd just like you to like, rate and review. If you're watching on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you are listening to us via iTunes or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, leave us a rating, leave us a review if you could, a written review, and just like and share across all your social medias. That will get us out there. It's all good for the algorithm. Jay, you're back. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Stu.
Good stuff. And Liam, your son, is also with us. Hey, Liam, how you doing, mate?
Hello, good to be back.
Yeah. So we've got our little WhatsApp group. We're going to chat all things Man United, and I'll be perfectly honest with both of you. But let's come to Jay. I've been spoilt being a Man United fan. It's tough times, Jay, isn't it?
Very tough times. I was driving to work this morning, and there was a recording on TalkSport of Paul Hawksby speaking on there, and he said the first half against Brentford, I can honestly say I haven't seen a team that bad since before Fergie's time.
Right.
As I spoke to you at work the other day, I said the same statement, but since Dave Sexton's times. Just Dave Sexton, but we struggled in mediocrity pretty badly back then. And, the signs were that we were going backwards faster than we were ever going forwards under Ollie. I'm not saying, he didn't deserve to go, and it's a different argument. That's all done in history. But I don't know what it is with some of them players. I'm worrying that we need to get rid of 6 of them at least.
Yeah, well, that's a big statement and something we will come on to a bit later. Liam, I didn't watch the Brentford game, but what game did we have before that? Was it the Aston Villa? And at points in the first half, even though we took that lead that we sadly gave up, I mean, that was tough watching, Liam. How are you finding it at the minute, mate?
Worrying, if I'm honest. Obviously, I'm too young to remember Dave Sexton's era, but from the times of watching Man United, I think this is one of the most worrying times I've ever had as a United fan. I mean, it looks like we'll have 10 minutes good football and then it'll just all fall apart again. I'm like, well, we're just going backwards here. What's happening? There's just so many questions and not enough answers, basically, with the way things are going at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, that Villa performance, we were lucky to be in the lead, but lucky to get a draw, really. And if anyone deserved to win that game, it was probably not Manchester United, really.
No.
Got well taken goals with some excellent build-up play to them, but in amongst some absolute garbage, Jay, hey?
Oh, honestly, the way they cut through us for those 2 goals, and nearly a couple more if it weren't for De Gea.
Yeah.
I mean, they just cut through in the middle of the defence like there was nobody there. I read somewhere, I think I passed it on to you, I read somewhere that apparently, and this is only hearsay, that Rannick's told the club that certain players aren't good enough to play in the team, and I think, we can't judge Varane yet, and he does look great. But the others, I think they've had their kind of the time.
Yeah, I mean, we can share that message. It's something that I've got on the itinerary to get to a bit later, but we can discuss it now. I mean, it was 3 of the what were first choice back 4 last year, really. He suggested to the club that he doesn't fancy Maguire, Shaw, or Wan-Bissaka, does he? So, I mean, I don't think I fancy him either, but that is a big clear out. That leaves Varane, Dalot, who's playing well, Tellez, who is playing well, but 6 weeks ago they were bench players, and Lindelof or Bailly to play next to Varane at the minute. I mean, we're not going to sign anyone in January, Liam, are we? There's going to be no significant signing.
Doesn't look like it, no.
Well, that's it. So the end of this season, are we writing it off, Liam, or are the club writing it off?
I think the FA Cup's the best thing we can hope for this season. But even saying with what you're saying there, I'm worried we're not even going to qualify for the Champions League because, let's be honest, we're not winning it.
No, we're not winning
a miracle.
this year. Yeah, I mean, that would be. I'm not going to make a ridiculous statement that's then going to be on YouTube forever, but it's, I don't think I'd put a bet on it 5,000 to 1 at the moment. Jay, would you?
I'd happily be proved wrong. Trust me, I'd happily be proved wrong now.
But, stranger things have happened, but like, at the end of the day, at least under Rannick, these players that were on the outside of Ollie's circle, the Teleses and the Dalots of the world, are getting a game now. And we're judging them pretty quickly because we're having to, because they're getting chucked in at the deep end. But I think for those two, I think they have been a bit of a positive. But looking at Liverpool, looking at City, looking at Chelsea, looking at what Arsenal are building, and looking how Conte likes to play his football, fullbacks are the main thing now. Now, have we got any fullbacks in our side that will get into any of those teams in the top 4?
I
don't think. No is the answer.
I think with those 3 defenders you mentioned there that Rannick was critical of, I would take Luke Shaw out of that list because I don't think he deserves the criticism he's getting, and I'd put Lindelof in there instead because I don't think Lindelof's good enough for Man United.
No, I would include Lindelof. My only thing with Shaw is that, barring the big injury he had when he first signed for us, he has been up and down, up and down, up and down. He has been very bad at times, and he has been what was quoted last year as the best left back in the world.
Yeah, I've got that written down, Jay. What's happened? What has happened to the world's best left back?
Is he on his way down again? I mean, we need consistency, and all of those fullbacks in the side, certainly Liverpool and City, those fullbacks are just so consistent. It's unbelievable.
They don't look like slowing down, do they, those ones?
No. Now, first thing Pep did when he came into City was buy, 50 million on him, 50 million on him, Walker, and I can't remember the other one. But
he's got Cancelo in, hasn't he, who's doing a fantastic job. He's potentially, going to be in the European Team of the Year the way he's been.
Absolutely.
But,
if we go back and if you look, it was a different era. It was a Premier League era. But if you go back to even somebody like Dennis Irwin playing at left back, and if football was different back then, but he would never give you less than a 7.5, and he was normally between an 8 and a 9 performance. But you wouldn't see the trash that Luke Shaw is dishing up on occasion. And it's, the game has changed a lot. Gary Neville was a brilliant defender, and he could overlap Beckham. Again, football was slightly different, but Gary Neville would put in those 7.5. Would be a bad game for him.
Absolutely. And I think from his own words in his book that I read, I think he had to give a 10 out of 10 every week to get to everybody's 7.5 out of 10. But it showed that, I suppose this is the word that Keane and Mourinho and all of these talk about, is they lack courage. Now, it's not just one manager that's spoken about, and that, they're all saying similar things, although none of them have actually come out and said it. But have these players got enough courage? They should have by now.
Yeah, that's it. And they wouldn't have either. If you talk about someone like Pep at Manchester City or Munich at Bayern or Barcelona prior to that, these players, Luke Shaw would have developed better potentially under. I mean, Pep, Man City are lucky to have him. Obviously, he is potentially the best of the best, isn't he? But does that beg the question that Luke Shaw has obviously got the talent? He proved that on the second biggest stage in the world last year at the Euros. So is there something going on the training pitch, Liam? Do you think that is it the coaching below the management? Are we're not? Luke Shaw is putting in these fantastic performances for England and for Manchester United, but he can't seem to produce it week in, week out. So is it a mental thing? Is it a coaching thing? I mean, we will never know. But
yeah, going back to what you just mentioned there, one key thing that you said there is the Euros. And always after a big tournament, some players just become sluggish for the next season, and then they seem to spring back the following season. I mean, I know in the Premier League you don't have time to do that now, but I think that's what may happen with Luke Shaw. The others maybe not so much, but Luke Shaw's the one that I think will be the one that sticks in, and he will come back to how he was before the Euros. Then we've got the problem of the World Cup in Christmas next year in Qatar.
Yeah.
If we get to that, he starts playing better, and then a World Cup, and then he'll start being sluggish again the following
roasting
season.
hot 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Also, that's going to bring another problem, is who's going to want to come to Man United in the state that we're in at the moment with World Cup places up for grabs.
Well, let's be honest, you've got to be thinking Marcus Rashford is on the fringes of England at best at the moment. So he's, it's almost unthinkable to think Marcus Rashford not good enough to be in an England squad. But I won't come to him just yet, because we'll get to that situation a bit later. But if we work from where, let's go to the manager. Let's discuss RALF and this RALF ball, whatever, this high press game that we saw in that first match against Palace, I believe it was, or that first half an hour. Has the pressing game gone, or has RALF realised that he can't entrust the players to put his plans into place? So, Jay, what do you think? Because we see it in spells. It's no surprise it's the start of the game, predominantly when players are full of energy, but then they seem to revert back to this pretty sit-off type of football that's not counter-attacking football to me. It almost looks like lazy football. So I don't know if we're just dealing with, are the players not good enough, Jay? Is that fair to think that you can say that about Man United?
I don't want to think that, but I can't believe that anybody want to be at Man United and not try their 100% and more. It's Man United crying out loud. But it's looking that way. Keane said it a while back about throwing managers under the bus, and, are they going to throw another one? There's one common denominator here, and it's the players.
Yeah.
That's what worries me is like, I said at the beginning, do we need major surgery? And I think, personally.
Yeah. Well, if we look at the problem there, another note I've got written here is sort of square pegs in round holes. And a prime example for me was in the recent performance that Sancho was asked to play just behind as sort of two central attacking midfielders behind Cavani and Ronaldo. And he looked completely out of place. Awful performance. I mean, we've said it in the few times we've chatted that he's got to be given games. He's got to be given games in the position that we signed him to play. But, I mean, moved in from the right wing to play behind the attackers, but he just didn't look like he had it, Liam. And he's a big concern for me, because that's a lot of money. That's a huge amount of money for a very, very talented young English player. What do you think on that situation with regards to not just Sancho, but does RALF have a system, or has he found a system he's happy with? Performances for me would suggest he hasn't, Liam.
Well, I mean, with this pressing game as well, we play against a team like Brentford, and they were pressing every single ball that we were played in on Wednesday night, whenever it was we played them. They were first to everything. They were all over and we just didn't seem to press. We couldn't seem to do it. That's what it tells you. A team like Brentford knew exactly how to do the pressing game, and we didn't. And it was. So
do you think the players don't want to, or they don't understand the instruction, or?
I don't know, because, we start playing attacking football, and it was looking good under Ollie, and then the pressing game side of it dropped. Then we start doing the pressing side of it, and our attacking game seems to drop. So
yeah, you're right there.
I don't know what's causing it, but
we seem to be a team that can't press at the moment. I mean, every team that comes to us, they press.
Yeah.
But, you know, they pressed us for every ball. They fought for every ball. And again, is this going back to this word courage they keep using? Are we not for every ball like?
So when you say courage, Jay, we're not talking courage in the 50-50 tackle. Are we talking courage to step up and
bit further and step on a bit, you know, like stand there like men, and you know, Keane says it all the time. We're in the trenches here. Let's fight together as a team. You know, fight harder for every single ball that's coming. You know, you get average players over the years that would run for a brick wall.
We don't want
to. He would put over superstars sometimes, rightly so, because you know, look at Nicky Butt. You know, he would do anything. He would run and keep running and go for every single ball.
He played that ugly football, that ugly side of the game.
Yeah, we just haven't got anybody to do that, I don't think. In defence or anywhere on the pitch, it doesn't seem, does it? It doesn't seem like you've got people trying to, like Liam says, that ugly side of it, get that ball back, win it, and then give it to the players that can play a bit.
Well, I think Nemanja Matic, old man Matic, who wanders around like he's about 56, he's in the side to be that steadying influence in front of the back four, but he isn't anymore, and he must be doing something on the training field that we're not seeing on. And he was a fantastic, you know, he was a fantastic player at Chelsea, and he was a good signing to come into Manchester United. He was someone, obviously, Mourinho trusted from the past, but he's, you know, albeit me sitting here, it's very easy for me to say his legs are gone. Maybe he never quite had the legs, but I don't know. If you're seeing Matic this time of year, would we not want to try and blood someone? You know, we'll get on to Mr. ELANGA later, putting in the good performances, but is it not a chance, Jay, to blood some younger guys rather than Matic now?
You look at that performance against Villa. For an hour, we did okay. Not great, not, you know, by any means, but we were challenging, and then his legs went, Matic.
Completely.
And then I just kept drifting through. Now, two things. Why didn't he make a change at the time? Surely Van Beek, then, when his legs would go, a fresh Van de Beek would be better than that. But
you'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
Other manager now ignoring Donny Van de Beek. What's going on? I don't know.
Has he been caught stealing out of people's pockets in the changing rooms? Because I don't know what he's done. He's probably on the pitch.
Yeah, perhaps these rumours that he's been put in things places he shouldn't put them are actually true. But
yeah. Surely we trust him enough to take over from a faded Matic, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I worry. Every time I see Matic's name on the team sheet before a game, I worry. I think we're going to lose now because he is just, to me personally, he represents negative football. Passing sideways, passing backwards, not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think we've got other things to discuss today. We won't talk about McTominay and Fred as a partnership. I'd like to talk about Scott McTominay, the player. Let's almost make this the first positive point of the podcast before, sadly, we'll get on to a negative one again in a minute. But I always say I like Scott McTominay. I do. And some performances, the way he was going past players in the build-up to potentially the first goal in the Brentford game, drifted or took on a couple of players. He's got that dribbling skill. He doesn't show it enough over the course of 90 minutes back to back that I want to see. But Jay, he's one of the, you know, we've mentioned De Gea time and time again on these podcasts. He tends to be one of the positives that come out of our podcast. And McTominay, since we last chatted on the 9th of December, we haven't played all that much football since. De Gea has kept up his incredible form, but I think McTominay has been one of the few other shining lights in the few weeks since we last chatted, Jay.
Sorry about Basil barking there in the back. But,
hello, Basil.
Eric's there as well somewhere. But I just think when you look at the way he's been playing McTominay, he almost brings back a little bit what we want.
Yeah.
It's just not enough. I don't know what. I mean, he's been exceptional in some of the games, and like you say, for some of the time. But it's what I said earlier. It's consistency. I think we need, and if we could get a consistent Scott McTominay, I think that is a real positive thing for us, because I really like it when he's playing like he's been playing.
Yeah, he's got
when he gets up and supporting the forwards and everything like that. I got a good shot on him and everything. I like him.
He's built for the Premier League, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, that physical stature. He is a Premier League body type, if you like.
Yeah.
Whether he's got a Premier League engine, he gets up and down. Has he got the Premier League brain yet?
I think
who knows?
A little bit of unfairness in us. We all judge him and, the other one you said you weren't going to mention, but
yeah,
I judge the two of them a bit unfairly, because most teams can't play Man United with 3 players in the midfield.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I'm not saying anything other than Bruno. Bruno's up front, or he's hanging out the left, or whatever he's doing. Hey, and they're on their own. Must be like the Alamo sometimes, because they've got 3 players.
Yeah,
fair.
He's got that look, McTominay. When you say someone looks like a United player, I think he's one of those players you could say that sort of saying about. He looks like a United player, like he fits in there, like he belongs.
Yeah,
he's got that aura about him as well.
Yeah, and Jay mentioned he's got a good shot on him. He's got the brilliant close control, and he can dribble a football. But if we could just see it a bit more, and that leads me on to the next point, and I'll come to you, Liam. It's potentially a big talking point, or it is a big talking point, but it's one I want to be a little bit sensitive around, because we're not quite sure what's going on. But Marcus Rashford, all right, he scored a goal at Brentford the other day, but in recent weeks, potentially the course of a couple of months, he looks lost on the football pitch. To me, he's playing without energy. He's playing without desire. He's playing. He's off the pace. He's coming off the bench, and he is not coming off the bench with energy, in my opinion. Do you see that, Liam? And do you?
Yeah.
What do we think the problem is? What could the problem be?
Well, certainly one thing I'd say about him, if I had to use a word describing the way he is at the moment, it's concern. And that concern doesn't just extend to the pitch. I'm concerned about the lad in his actual life as well, because he just doesn't look like he's there. He looks withdrawn. He doesn't look happy. And you're concerned about what's happening with him. I mean, the pressure, he's done some remarkable things outside of the game, hasn't he? And
yes,
that we've put that together with what I think is one of the major factors is missing that penalty in the final. Mm-hmm. Not only the racist abuse that he got as well, the trolls on Twitter and everything like that. That's got to weigh heavy on someone's mind. And, what I think it needs is someone like a Gareth Southgate to sort of put their arm around him and say, look, I've been there. You do get through this. As bad as it feels now, you've got your whole career ahead of you. You could make amends for this in 4 years' time, 2 years' time, whatever. And I think that is some of the problem that is going on with Marcus Rashford. That with the injuries as well, because he had those 2 injuries that he played with for so long. Yeah, and you can see it in it. He is so dedicated to Man United. He's so dedicated to the game that he's desperate to play every minute of football that he can, but at a detriment to himself, because he could be making those injuries worse. And what worries me is that he is carrying injuries and he's not going to be honest about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like concern is a good word and a great word. We don't want to go too in depth, and we don't want to suggest that he may be struggling mentally, or he may be struggling. But I mean,
I hope he's not anyway.
It, Jay, haven't we, Jay? That
it's worrying.
He looks, as Liam said, he looks lost. But as fans, do we have a right to know? Or if there is something going on, then the club or Marcus Rashford himself, because he coming off the bench and looking like he doesn't want to be there is not going to endear him to fans who have paid out half a wage packet to watch a game of football at Manchester United.
Exactly that. I mean, it's how passionate United fans are, but the one thing we all are, I think, more than other clubs, is understanding. We have backed players many a time. I remember poor old Neil Webb when he came with all the trumpets and glory, scored a couple of goals on his first game against Arsenal, snapped his Achilles tendon in the England game, and that was the end of his United, really. But, United fans are pretty good, over things. And they will back Rashford. But hopefully the club do. You'd like to think a club the size of us, whatever the problems, I'm not saying it's suggesting 1 minute it's mentally, but it worryingly looks a bit more than just a run of bad form, I think. But, hopefully somebody in the club can put their arm around him and try and get to the bottom of things. He's had a lot of stuff going on, and it's easy for people to say, oh, yeah, he's spend more time on his football than outside the game, but he ain't got the control for that. All he did was something good.
Yes.
Something good, and everybody else does all that makes the fuss about. He's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing too much out of football. That was just something that ballooned out of control. I bet he didn't think for 1 second it was going to get anything anywhere like that.
Yeah.
You've got to take your hat off to him for it, but he is a footballer. We do demand the best out of our players. Somebody's got to try and help him get through what it is. And, hopefully it is just something like the missed penalty, because he's only got to score the next one or score the winning goal in the cup final. And some people forgotten. Look at John Terry when he missed the one slipped over.
In Moscow, in the rain.
But I bet he weren't. But
yeah.
Come back probably a stronger man, he would say. And hopefully Rashford can too.
Well, you've just said there, Jay, which hopefully there's someone within the club who can guide him back to the form. And if he is, only if he is struggling with something away from football, because we don't know, let's hope someone can guide him there. For me, though, one person I don't want him to take advice off is Anthony Martial. I've had enough. Football, plays out in the press on Sky Sports News that he didn't want to play or didn't want to be included in the squad. There's this talk he would hope to go to Seville. Now he wants to be loaned he'd happily take a loan to another Premiership club. But unless there's something going on again, which maybe there is, but he's been off it for months. And he doesn't seem to want to even try and resurrect his Man United career. Liam, is it time for Mr. Martial to go and ply his trade on foreign fields?
Yeah. I as much it pains me to say, because I love the guy, but I think this is it for him now. Considering like how much stock the fans have put into him, he's like loved by the fans.
Yes, goal against Liverpool on debut. Kudos forever, really, if he puts his heart and soul into his performances. But it doesn't look like he wants to. Jay, what's your feelings on the Maverick Frenchman?
I think he's got to go now. I think, to be honest with you, I was never very impressed once the Mourinho put him on and he didn't want to go on that time. Remember just after he'd signed his new contract, and has he done anything since that contract? He had one season with Rashford where they got like 19 and 18 goals each or something, didn't they? It was almost good. They both played with a smile on their face. It's a long time since you've seen that, and I think we've invested a lot of money and a lot of managers in him.
Yeah.
This, 3 managers in Man United's history goes back an awful long way, before Fergie left, and he's gone through 3 managers.
Yeah.
It's time to say, I've had enough of it. Sounds like you have, and Liam's. I know how much Liam really likes him, as a player, and because when he is on form, he's fantastic. But we paid a lot of money for a lot of potential, and potential's not really risen to the top, I don't think.
But none of us knew who he was when we signed him. I had no idea who he was.
No, but
I agree with you there. And you look at young ELANGA, who has, come into the side, and he's, as you would expect almost and hope, he has come into the side with energy and enthusiasm. That's not going to score you Premiership goals, but it's probably going to win a few fans over. And Jay, I remember you said to me the other day, I can't remember which game, would it potentially have been the Villa game, that he came off the bench and offered more in the 15 minutes he played than Rashford had offered in the 75 minutes previous.
He's only short. He's only 4 foot and a fag butt, and he's up there with headers from the goal kicks and everything. And I think you go back to, I was saying courage, but I mean, Fergie used to say it in all of his interviews, read all of his books and everything. He looked into the player's eyes and sees hunger. You ain't got to look into his eyes and see hunger. He's hungry. He wants to do it. He wants to win, and that's what we need, a bit more of that. It might not be the word courage. It might be back to what Fergie said: hunger to win and win those. Get in those. He's great. He's a breath of fresh air, I think.
He looked like the hungriest player on the pitch against Brentford the other night.
The one thing we have got to be careful is about, we've got another superstar and just drowning him in football again, which, to be fair to Marcus Rashford, he's carried us a long way. So I think we deserve to support him. Yeah,
no, that's fair.
He's carried us a long way, hasn't he, Rashford?
Yeah, and we don't. I mean, you said to me the other day, Jay, that potentially there was, or you think there might be 6 players that need to go. Occasionally, for me, I look at someone like a Rashford not performing, and I wouldn't want to play him in the starting 11, but I wouldn't. Unlike Martial, who I would, if the right offer came on, or even the wrong offer, I'd be happy for the club to accept it. I wouldn't want Marcus Rashford to go anywhere, because I don't think there's something, for me, is not quite right there. And I think the Man United Marcus Rashford is still hiding there. He's hiding quite a lot at the minute, but he will come back. And the word comeback, that wasn't intentional, but it will lead quite nicely to my next point. And we're 33 minutes into this recording almost, and we haven't mentioned Cristiano Ronaldo once. But I'll come to you, Jay, first on this one, because my concern is that he's scored some goals, and I'm not too bothered by this hands up in the air, he gets substituted, blah, blah, blah. I think that's Cristiano Ronaldo. He's been like that at every club. Before he was good, when he was good, when he was God, and now he's on the way back down, his histrionics, etc. Part and parcel. But has his arrival at Man United, 3 months, 4 months into his return, however long it may be, has he made the club or the squad or the performances potentially worse, Jay? Again, it's a crazy thing to be talking about, but it's probably worth having a discussion about.
Yeah, I'm one of his biggest fans. I stand up for him over Messi every day of the week. They're both incredible players. We're blessed that we've seen this going on for so long. Before that, one player had last a year, 2. If they were top player of the world for 2 years in a row, that was a major feat,
Yeah.
We didn't expect to get him. Weren't on Ollie's radar. Ollie was happy with the way things were going. He was after a defensive midfielder and a fullback, so we were led to believe. And then suddenly, bang, the circus is in town. We've got Ronaldo. Fantastic for all of us, really. I mean, we're so lucky in a way, but I don't know whether the players we've already got have reacted very well to it. For whatever,
Bruno, potentially.
They're in awe of him, whether he's got too much to say, whether he might not have enough to say. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But Bruno's a different player since he's turned up. Different player. Yeah. I don't want him to leave the club at all. But he's not that player that you'd think, don't ever let him leave the club at the moment.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Yeah.
Guys, Liam, can you just take over that?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, Jay goes to sort the 4-legged kids out. What's your thoughts on the Ronaldo situation, Liam? Because he is one of the best players ever to grace our wonderful game. But he isn't. I was one calling for him and Cavani to be played up top. I still quite like it. It is a 70-year-old strike force, if you will.
Yeah.
But there's something just he hasn't. Well, we're not winning games we should be, and we've got Cristiano Ronaldo on the part or coming off the bench. So there's something amiss. There's something amiss throughout the club. We know that. Are you still happy for? Let me ask you this question: Is Cristiano Ronaldo? Does he make our starting 11 stronger at the moment?
Oh yeah, I think there's no doubt in that any 11 he goes into, he makes stronger. I mean,
right.
I think you've got to blame some of the people around him, but at the same time, he's got to realise that and adapt his game, which he can do, to suit the players around him. And it's those moments of genius that he comes up with that can change a game, and the sulking and things like that, like you say, that is Ronaldo, that is what he does. But you've got to think that his time at his senior position now, what example is that setting to the younger players to be, throwing a strop? So
yeah, and he is bigger than the new manager. He's potentially bigger than any manager. He obviously learned under Fergie, who certainly wasn't bigger than. But do these managers, Jay, does Mr. Rangnick, is he able to pull him to one side on the training field and say, this has to stop? What can he threaten him with? This has to stop. You pull that again, I'm not going to play you, because he is going to play him, really, isn't he?
Well, the minute he pulls him, he's just going to throw a paddy and leave, isn't he?
Potentially, yeah.
And then we're going to look a lot big time.
Yeah.
We've just got to. Surely those players want to play with the best player over the last 6-7 years, or longer even. Surely they want to burn off them every day in training. They seem to be smiling in training. You look at all the photos and all that. I know that they're hand-picked probably, but they all seem happy. On the pitch, it's very hard to see a smile out there, isn't it? And I just think that he can do so much, like Liam said. He can just do so much.
Yeah.
Are we loading too much onto him? Because for a while, it seems to hopefully change in the last few games, but other people aren't even getting close to scoring. We're kind of relying on Ronaldo. And you start launching balls in the middle for him and, tailoring our game. Certainly Bruno, again, he just looks for him every time, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, let's... We're not running out of time, but I think we're sort of getting to the point where we need to be. We're going to end the show running. Our fourth member, Ali, has not been able to join us tonight. He double booked and he picked his wife over us three. So when he next comes back on, we can remind him of that. But I think we've covered a lot. We've got, if we look at sort of fixtures coming up, I mean, I said a few weeks ago when we last spoke, I thought we could potentially win 11 or 12 out of the next 13 games. That hasn't happened. We've still got Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, Watford before we take Man City on sometime around early March. So, when I say that to you, Jay, Watford, well, next up, Burnley, followed by Burnley.
West Ham.
Oh, West Ham this week, sorry. Then we go to Burnley. So West Ham at home, Burnley away, Southampton at home, Leeds away, Watford at home. You want to be saying, that's got 15 points written all over it. But the way we're performing at the minute, it hasn't, has it? I mean, I look at all of them. Leeds away, West Ham are a good side. Leeds away potentially, and Watford obviously turned us over. 4 or 5-1 Ollie's last game, wasn't it? Hopefully we'll give them a tonk and make up for it. But Jay, what do you think we need to be? We need to, if we're looking at Champions League football next year, That means holding on to Cristiano Ronaldo and potentially attracting some signings over the summer.
Yeah.
We're going to need to take 15 points from that lot, aren't we?
Now, we've got one game in hand over West Ham, and if we win that game in hand, we go a point above them. So we go into top 4.
Yeah.
We've got 2 games in hand over Chelsea. So we're almost up with Chelsea if we win those 2 games in hand.
It'd take us a win away. It'd take us to 41 points. Chelsea's currently sitting on 44.
If I remember rightly, isn't it? I think that's one that got cancelled, wasn't it? Burnley away.
I don't know, if I'm honest. I won't guess.
we need to get those next few games won. We need to get them in the bag now. West Ham tomorrow. Draw's not good enough. We need to win that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Get up into the point there that we can put pressure on Tottenham, because Tottenham are the ones that worry me at the moment, because they're not losing. They're winning games. You know, they're unbeaten since he's come through the door.
Mr. Conte, yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch their games really, but I don't know whether they're playing well or not, but they're getting away with it, and they've suddenly got 3 games in hand over Chelsea.
Yeah, so they're sitting on 19. They're 36 points from 19 games, which is a point more than us, 2 games less. So yeah, and I only watched the highlights. I watched the highlights of the Leicester game where Mr. Bergwijn picked up 2 goals in injury time. But I think Leicester played well. Seemed to be the story of Leicester this season a bit. Some positives in amongst, some positive performances that seem to end in defeat more often than victory. For Leicester, maybe the same to be said for Man United. All right, we'll get together after that run of 5 games. That might be a good point to sit down again before we take sort of Man City on.
Yeah.
But if we go to round things off, hopefully it'll be a bit of fun. There's a couple of names in here that probably get Jay going, I know. But Ali's offered us his current Man United team. I won't reel it off in one go, and we'll just have a chat along the way, because there's obviously one name in there we haven't mentioned at all so far. But Ali's gone for obviously De Gea at the back. No point discussing De Gea.
He's our lifeline.
He's our lifeline. Poor old Dean Henderson, probably sitting there thinking, what could he have done? He couldn't have done anything really. De Gea has stepped up and made that first choice shirt or first team shirt his. Ali's defence, he has gone for Dalot at right back and Shaw at left back. Now, for me, I'm probably in for that. I mean, as Liam was saying earlier, Shaw is still, or has just done enough. Jay, do you think has he just done enough to still be seen as first choice at the minute?
Yeah, and Tellez hasn't done enough consistently
to take it away from him.
To take that position away. I think if he can up his game, I think Luke Shaw should get a bit worried. But Shaw did do, and we shouldn't forget this, is the minute we signed Tellez, that's when Luke Shaw went through the roof and became the player that we saw 15 months prior to now. But happy with that.
So 100% agreed on that so far.
Yeah, and he's picked obviously Varane in the middle, and next to him, probably he's gone for Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire has struggled this year. A lot of players at Man United have struggled this year, but for me, I don't think I'd pick Lindelof or Bailly ahead of him. Liam, would you go with Maguire at the minute?
I would. I think if anyone's going to steady him, Varane's the best teacher to do it, because look at him. He's a World Cup winner. He's won everything, hasn't he? So
yeah.
If anyone's going to steady Maguire and get him to calm down a bit and compose himself a bit more, I think it will be Varane. With that saying, I would play Maguire, but he would not have the captain's armband.
Okay, well that's interesting. Well, perhaps we'll finish this. We'll ask everyone who's going to captain this side. Ali hasn't put a captain in. Now here we go, Jay. He's picked McTominay. I think that's a good choice.
Yeah.
But Ali has gone for a fully fit Paul Pogba, and he wants to pick him. Jay, I thought this might be a good talking point for you. I like Paul Pogba when he's playing well. Every football fan likes a player when they're performing for their side. But is he too much like, or has Anthony Martial copied Paul Pogba's attitude? For me, I don't think he's done enough to get into a squad in my eyes. I think he's damaged himself too much for me.
I wanted him to be what he had the potential to be, and he's just not done it enough. Nowhere near enough.
And that red card, well, that might have been his last performance, was it?
It was, yeah.
I think it should be.
Yeah.
Let's not take the context. There's players out there feeling bad enough about the result for him to just go start swinging legs about and things like that, and just not walk off with a smile on his face. He doesn't want to play for us. He doesn't want to re-sign for us. Let's just get rid of him now and get 20 million for him from PSG or whatever we can get for him.
Well, he's come out and said yesterday that he hopes to join Real Madrid in the summer. I would assume he's hoping that Carlo Ancelotti hasn't been watching any of his performances this year, because he's obviously, if he's going to go on a free, is he in a position? Has his attitude, has his form at Man United over the course of his return, Liam, is he going to be able to go over there and demand 300,000 or 400,000 euros a week because he's Paul Pogba and he's come in on a free? If I'm Carlo Ancelotti, I'm going to be seriously saying to the people above me, do we really want to? This guy comes with baggage, doesn't he?
Do you know what really frustrates me is the fact, as you say, he will demand that money, he will get that money, and he will go over there. And this is my prediction: if he goes over there, you'll get the Paul Pogba that you got at Juventus, the Paul Pogba that we've not seen. And that's what really, really irks me, is that we've not had that Paul Pogba, and we've not had anyone that's been able to control him and get him to play the way he played at Juventus.
I think also you've got to remember,
it's been like a holiday for him, hasn't it, at United?
Yeah, and Fergie is very rarely wrong there. He walked out on Fergie, and we got £1 million in compensation, I believe, or something along them lines, €1 million, I think, when he went to Juventus. He'd done it once before. We've fallen for it again. 90 million quid this time.
Yeah.
And it's just going to walk out the door for nothing. Don't you ever put a United shirt on again, in my opinion. It's just...
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with you there, Jay. And like Liam says, hopefully, I've just written down that for next season, we'll have to do when we get together, we'll have to keep an eye on Mr. Pogba for Mr. Pogba's performances, because he is going to be playing his football somewhere else. He's not going to be playing. He might put a shirt on and get a run out for United this year, but he's going to be playing his football somewhere else. So let's come back to him next year and see how he's getting on. I am slightly concerned that Liam will be proved right and he will go and shine. But, as long as he's not going to shine for us. I don't think he wants to play for us, as Jay said. So he was a £90 million signing, and Mr. Sancho was, 72, 78. But Ali's gone for Sancho. Again, raised an eyebrow when I watched it, because I don't know if Ali's picking the Sancho who's put the performances on for England in recent years, or the Borussia Dortmund Sancho. For me, Sancho doesn't make my current Man United 11. Nothing against, don't want to pick a fight with Ali. I've known him many years. He's a bit bigger than me. But does he get into your side at the minute, Jay?
No, he's not done enough, I don't think.
No?
I think Greenwood you can see the hunger in Greenwood again. Go back to that again. But, he wants to play. He's dangerous. He gets the ball. You actually think,
head up, moving forward. What I think
like
highlights I saw the other day.
Very early days to write him off. It's a big thing to do, to come over. First team football for United in the situation we're in at the moment. Are we again expecting too much? No, not really. We just paid £70-odd million for him. Who's done it consistently. He has got to step a bit, but I think the system that is being played doesn't suit that kind of player anyway. So he's getting, again, going back to what you said earlier, square pegs and round holes. It's just not
Yeah.
We wanted a right winger. We bought a right winger. We're not right wing. We're playing him left wing or behind the strikers and things like that. It's he needs a consistent run in the team at right wing, in my opinion. But then Green,
I agree. I agree with that completely.
Green deserves to play.
You don't get most assists in the Bundesliga for no reason, do you?
Yeah, no. Exactly. So to finish off, he's gone with Bruno Fernandes, and we're running out of time. But Bruno, he's looked a bit better in recent games. Jay alluded to it earlier that he has looked a different player since Cristiano's turned up at the club. That strike against Aston Villa was wonderfully taken goal, and some of the passing. I mean, he does give the ball away a lot, but I'm not too worried about that sometimes because he's looking for that early pass. For me, it's a concern when he's looking for an early pass and he's kind of got Fred or someone he's intended to, and I just don't think they're making the runs he's thinking of. But he's gone, I think Fernandes, Jay, or let's go to Liam, sorry. I think Fernandes has to get in the side. I think he justifies it. He hasn't quite been the player who got all those goals and assists last year, but he is still, he's still performing. Not as well as none of the side are performing as well as we'd like them to, but I think Fernandes is a fairly good shout, Liam.
Yeah, and there's your man for me, personally, that I would be picking as my captain.
Right. So that's
Yeah, he's got the character. He comes across like he could be a locker room leader as well. I think players look up to him, and he might be having a bit of a blip, but I think he's on the way back up now. The last couple of games, he showed that he's the one that can sort of pick it out. When him and Ronaldo, when they're switched on, they're communicating and they're playing together. I think that's when some magic might actually start coming, when them two start playing well together. And then you put a Sancho in there as well. Those three together, I think, we just need to get them there.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, the goals will start coming from, I think. It's those three.
Yeah.
Just to add one thing there. Do you not think we're playing him slightly wrong? We're still expecting him to be in that midfield. We need a midfield player in there that's joining the midfield. Can we not play him just off the striker?
That's where he should be.
Number 10, he's a striker, but he's the one that drops.
Does that mean play him with just one up top, Jay?
Yeah,
Hughes
would always play. He would always drop there, use the ball, he's the focal point, give the ball to him, way before all these specific positions got picked out. But he's the guy who played his back to goal, front, face to goal, left, right, didn't matter. Give the ball into him, head height, chest height, knee height, he'd get it down, play it, strike, score goals.
Yeah.
He can do that easy, Bruno. He's just so talented at that kind of thing. But do we rely on him coming back and joining in, defending? Because it's obviously something you don't do, but we can't have too many players on the team that don't do that. That's what worries me about him slightly.
Yeah, I mean, I think after last year, after his performances last year, had Ronaldo not come back to the club, you'd have said that even if he wasn't wearing the armband because Harry Maguire had it, you'd have said Bruno was the guy that you're going to build your starting 11 around, and almost, if we want to talk an American phrase, your franchise player, almost the guy that you're going to build the club around for years to come. You've got people like Greenwood and still Rashford, and you sign someone like Sancho, an up-and-coming English player, but Bruno is that marquee man or prior to Ronaldo coming. His stock was as high as anyone probably in the Premier League at the end of last year. We didn't win anything, but Bruno could hold his head up high for his performances, for Man United, for Portugal. No arguments with Ali there. And
last season, I paid Fernandes the biggest compliment he could receive, and I said, I think he's going to be our next Cantona. I really do. The way that he's won over the fans straight away, like Eric did, and he's got that connection with the fans. Like, he could be a cult hero. I think he will be our next Cantona.
He's got the potential to do it, and we've got to use him right. That's what I'm saying. You know, we just need to use him right.
Yeah. Well, let's hope in a few weeks' time we've been using him right. Ali has finished this side off with Cristiano Ronaldo and Marcus Rashford. I think it's probably a bit early to suggest that ELANGA would get into. We're not going to base it on a couple of lively performances and a goal in the last game. I don't know if I'd be going for Rashford, but then I don't know who I'd be picking. Ali has suggested he wants to play this in a sort of a 4-3-3. I know Pogba. He says, I know Pogba is off and Maguire, Rashford out of form, but providing back to best, that is my best 11. So Ali's kind of suggesting there that, if everyone is playing to their utmost, that's who he's going to pick, and that's fair enough. For me, at the moment, I'd still probably rework that a little bit, and for me, I would get Cavani in the starting lineup. I don't know if that throws things out of balance, if that means Ronaldo has to drop down to the bench, because if we can't play, if we can't find a system that's going to fit behind those two playing together up front, then there's no point. If the other 9 play or the other 8 players out pitch, obviously De Gea speaks for himself. But I don't know. What do we think of that sort of guys? It's, Ali's contribution has been a very good talking point there. It will be good to have him back on the next chat.
Yeah.
So how's about if we look, I don't know if there's any European stuff. There'll obviously be a FA Cup fixture against Middlesbrough, is it? Chris Wilder's team now. They'll probably be licking their lips fancying a game against Man United. But if we get together sometime either just before that Watford game, it says date to be confirmed for Man City, but it's got potentially the Saturday, the 5th of March there. We're playing Watford on the 26th of February, so we could maybe get together the week after that 26th. I'd like to say we're going to be sitting here. I make a bold prediction that we're going to be sitting here with 13 points, 4 wins and a draw from those 4. Jay, are you more hopeful or less hopeful than me?
I'm more hopeful too, but reality-wise, we're looking at, the points we've picked up from the games we thought we were going to pick win. I don't know. I think 13. I'll be happy with 13.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive bit of a big statement for me, because 13 points is completely out the window if we don't get much from West Ham. But
one that worries me. That and Leeds away, just the history of it.
Yeah,
it's a hard place to go to. That is
definitely there's probably some Leeds fans doing a little podcast out to 20 other Leeds fans like this little podcast of ours. They're probably having similar conversations to us, I'd have thought, because Bielsa is, Pep's hero, and he got them up after that year. They got so close, and they've brought a fresh brand of football to the Premiership. We had a chat, didn't we? I think it was our first chat, Jay, you and Ali, when they turned up at Old Trafford and got walloped 5-0, could have been 50-0. But I think Leeds are potentially in a situation like us where the fans will be wondering where that team or some of those performances from last year have gone. I think Bamford is a big miss for them, and he's just niggled that hamstring again. So
it's a small squad, though, and different thing. 31 players on our first team squad, and just far too many to keep happy for one.
Yeah.
So you get an unhappy balance, aren't you? Because some of those players are never going to get anywhere near the first team. They're travelling to all the games, and not all 31, obviously, but it's a big pool of players. We need to thin them out a bit, I think.
I think that's your guaranteed 3 points there against Leeds.
You fancy that?
I wouldn't take anything less. Anything less against Leeds is a defeat.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. All I'm saying, it's not an easy place to go and play football.
No.
So let's finish on. We haven't done this before, but let's finish West Ham at home. Let's finish this 1 hour chat nicely with some predictions for the Man United game and week for Man United West Ham this coming Saturday, the 22nd of January. We can look back and laugh at hopefully how right we were. But Liam, give us a score prediction for this coming weekend, mate.
Honest prediction, I'm going to say 1-1.
1-0. Jay?
2-1.
2-1 Man United. And I'm going to go for, I said it at break time today, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go for 3-1 Man United. I'm going to say thank you very much, Liam. Thank you very much, Jay. Sorry you weren't here, Ali. I'm going to say thanks for joining us. Again, I'm just going to remind you all, if you enjoy the content, just like, rate, review, please share. Liam, you got us 70 odd views in the first week, I think. Was that your social media presence? I know Jay is doing wonderful. Jay is doing wonderful things with his carp fishing on Twitter. Hopefully, we can get some Man United content out of that Twitter account as well. But thank you very much for joining me, gents. I'm going to stop this recording, but I won't hang you up from the call.